Hello, I'm Liz Lumley of Finextra, and today I'm speaking to Penny Hembrow of CGI, and we're going to talk about the industry's favorite topic at the moment, which is digital, and specifically a survey that CGI have just put together, sort of looking at consumers in the digital age. So to start us off, can you give us some highlights from this survey?
So we surveyed just over 1,200 consumers in North America and in Europe to get a good view about what are they looking for in the digital era. What does digital consumerism mean for a bank? So and the highlights of this is that none of the results came back saying I want a current account or I want a safe place to put my money. That's a given in today's world. What they're really looking for are value-added services which help them to spend their money well and also advice on how to build wealth. It seems pretty simple to us if we think about ourselves, but that's what they're saying. The survey also has demonstrated really clearly what many of the bank's chief executives already know, but is that the opportunity for switching is significantly high
at the moment, yeah.
And conversely, of course, the opportunity to lose clients is very high. So those are the very top level findings of the survey.
So you mentioned value-added services. Could you go into more detail about what those services are?
Sure. What's happening is that consumers, from their experience, particularly in the retail industry, are now expecting a number of things to help them spend their money well. And in fact, the top one of that is they want their money to go further. And that means they want rewards. And what they're recognising is that why should there be a difference if I spend money cash, a standing order or direct debit, or a cheque if you're in a cheque part of the world, or on a credit card, or in a shop, or with a utility? And why can't a bank help me get all those rewards together, or even better, reward me for my business with them, and put that together so it helps me to stretch my money, go further? The second thing they're saying is, well, you must know other people like me. Wouldn't it be nice if you could tell me if other people find better deals than me? Would it be great if you could help me make sure I'm spending my money, getting the best discounts with the, right suppliers? I can judge whether other people like me are, getting better deals. And wouldn't that be great if also you can tell me if I'm about to underspend or overspend based on my monthly habits? And so could I put a bit of money away this month, or am I about to incur some charges which I really don't like paying?
So you mentioned things like rewards, and you also brought in this sort of comparison, which brings up in my mind, this sort of social aspect to what people are looking from their banks. Does that mean that these types of changes are being driven by generations? Is it generational change?
Well, it's interesting because last year I would have said, and a lot of the industry analysts would have said, oh, it's definitely a generational Y thing. It's the new generation coming up. But in fact, the survey has found very, very clearly it's not a generational thing. It is all of us are now living in the digital era. We're all digital consumers, and it doesn't matter how wealthy or how poor we are. It doesn't matter how old we are, and it doesn't matter where we live in the world. Actually, the results are really consistent worldwide. What the survey has shown very clearly is although there's a strong preference for digital channels, again, cross-generational, so they want all of these services delivered on the digital channels, they also really want face-to-face in the branch, and they also want on the phone.
Yeah, so the branch still has a place in the digital world.
Yes, the survey has shown really clearly that the branch has a really firm place in banking, and that it's important to people to be able to go in and talk to people, get advice, be able to do part of their transactions in the branch. And certainly some of the aspects that some branches are and banks are talking about being known in the branch has also come through, because one of the more surprising things that have come out of it is that people feel that they're known less in the branch than they are online.
So you've gone through all of these trends, all of these findings. So now it's crystal ball time. What should banks be doing about this?
Well, I think there's clearly a real urgency that banks embrace the digital era. Now, some banks obviously have already done that, but the starting point has to be Do you know what your customers want? Do you know who they are? Do you know how they transact, what they're transacting in? So really getting that complete picture of your customer base and the segments within it. The second is about making sure you're offering the right types of services. So we've talked in the survey found this big difference between product and a value-added service. And what we're seeing with some of the more digitally mature banks is that they're innovating services up to every quarter. So new services coming up, because services as they come up will be consumed and you'll get some feedback and you say, well, is this right? Is it wrong? Do I need to change how it's done? And so there's a lot of work going on in terms of innovating services. And so banks really need to think about how do they put out those new services omni-channel. And then the third thing they need to do is think about any service goes out omni-channel. So we've talked about that, but it is actually at the moment,
of the moment, omni-channel.
It is. And so people at the moment are putting out a service that goes out on one channel and then it looks different on another channel. Or it doesn't work.
Or it doesn't recognize you.
Or it doesn't recognize you. Or you have to sign in differently. Or you go into the branch and they don't know what you've been doing. So there has to be an omni-channel experience. It has to be a consistent omni-channel brand that you're putting forward with your services. And then clearly from the survey, there is this whole aspect of rewards. How are banks going to get into the e-commerce space and start to help their clients, their customers, manage their reward? I had somebody told me the other day, I really don't want to have 15 reward cards in my purse, in my wallet anymore. I want you to manage that for me. It's a really clear request that consumers are making of their banks. And then finally, I think the very clear thing that's come out from a number of points is that actually digital is not just about services and channels. It's actually more than that. It's about becoming a deep digital organisation. And so there's a need to be able to digitalise processes, digitalise knowledge, and become a paperless bank, ultimately.
Someday.
Someday, yeah.
So, Penny, thank you very much.
Thank you.